And that's all I remember about the book. Oh my god. Read. And that 5-star read of the and that what was it about? So the demons that they're hunting, and what about the apocalyptic? Apocalyptic. So I'm already winning. I'm already like, hey, I have a difficult time sharing my reviews, but this is something that I need to work on, and this is why I'm making this video. Hi everyone, my name is Anna. Thank you so much for stopping by. I make bookish content. I am a 9-to-5 girly that just adds a little bit of whimsy and happiness into her everyday life by reading books and doing whimsy stuff. And for today's video, we will be going over my mid-year reading wrap-up check-in. I don't know the stats. 1 second. From January to June, I read a total of 13 books. That is actually super low. I have a goal to read 52 books. Is it 52 or 50? Oh, I actually put 45 books in my Fable, so I guess 45 books. And I need to read 5 books per month now to actually catch up and hit my goal. Yeah, but I would say this, 2022, I read a total of 12 books, 1 book per month. So I'm already winning. I'm already like, hey, we never thought we could have got here. And we did. We sure did. In the month of January, I started off with a bang. Let me just tell you that. I had a total of 2 5-star reads. Like the beginning of the year, January, back to back. And the first one was Ring Shout by P. DeJelly Clark. We follow a group of Black women that are demon hunters, which turns out to be that the demons are actually manifestations of the Ku Klux Klan. So the demons that they're hunting and are Ku Kluxes, and they are a ugly manifestation of all the racism and hatred. So it's a very, very important read. I think everyone should read it. I would definitely recommend it. And also, I actually listened to the book, and it was so good. I enjoyed it so much. The second book that I read was my first world building fantasy, and it was yet another 5 stars, like I mentioned, and that was The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillick. I just have to say, I love gargoyles now. I am so ready for the second book. The reason why I really enjoyed The Night and the Moth was because it was such an easy book to follow. It wasn't as complicated as I feel like other fantasy books are. I mean, you're like a new fantasy reader, I recommend The Night and the Moth. And The Night and the Moth is about a girl that lived inside a cathedral for 9 years, and she's a diviner. So people will go to this cathedral and seek, I think there were 6 other diviners as well. They would seek them to have visions. And there was one time where she had a specific dream that was a little concerning, and it just came forward to be more like visions that led her into this journey that we're following her. I don't know if I'm making sense because I do not want to spoil it. For February, I read a total of 2 books. The first one being Sky Full of Elephants by Sibyl Campbell, and I rated that one a 4 stars. Sky Full of Elephants is about a event that occurred in America. It somewhat is apocalyptic, except that only white people in America died. They walked themselves into a body of water and just drowned. We follow Charlie, a year into the event, and we follow him into a journey that he himself didn't think he would go through. And it is such a good example what happens to one's identity when we find out secrets, and then also when we do the work to decenter certain types of ideology that our parents or the people around us instill in us. So it just leaves us with, when we hone into that identity and the reckoning that goes with it, when we decide to let go of that identity and actually explore who we truly are and where we actually come from. So I really enjoyed that aspect of the book. Then we move on to Changing All Stars by Nana Kawami Adjei Brekya. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And it is a story about what capitalism and the industrial complex of prisons have done to our society. And it is WWE Hunger Games meets Gladiator type of entertainment that you can say is sponsored by what would be Amazon in this story. I would recommend 100%. Yes, I gave this a 4 stars. In the month of March, I read 4 books. This month was also a banger, except for one book that I rated 2.5 stars. Now that I think about it, it's probably a 2-star rating because I don't remember crap about it. And it was a short story. I do remember like 2 stories from the book. But other than that, like I'm sorry to this book. I don't know this book. If someone were to ask me, First book was a banger. The first book was Catalina by Carla Cornejo Villavicencio. 5 stars. Absolutely 5 stars. It's in my top 10 of my entire lifetime favorite books. It's about an undocumented student that we follow her last year at Harvard, and we see her explore herself as well as simultaneously losing so much of that control that she hones. It was such a refreshing story about an undocumented person. We usually have just trauma dumping when it comes to undocumented characters, and in this book we had a little bit of everything. Being undocumented was, yes, a major aspect of her life, but we also saw so much of her living life like any other college student, and that was my favorite thing about the book. And I related to her so much because I am a formerly undocumented person. I recently became a US resident in 2023. So it's still kind of fresh. It's a wound and identity that I'm still working through, and seeing this type of character just healed something in me. The book that I'm like, I cannot remember anything about it, and that is a 2.5, but now it's probably a 2-star rating, is a short story book, Good, Evil, and Other Stories by Samantha Schwelben. I don't recommend. I don't remember anything about it. I remember I was just finishing it because I wanted to finish the book. I didn't want to DNF it, and now in hindsight, I should have DNF'd. I do remember a story about one horse, and then I remember another story about like, what was it? It's a horror. Oh, it's also a horror genre, like other like short stories. That's why I thought I was gonna enjoy it, because horror has become one of my favorite genres in 2025. So I keep wanting to read it more often, and that was just so disappointing. It was bizarre. It was very bizarre, and not in like a cool, like interesting way. It was boring. Then it's okay. Fear no more. Then we had a good day. We had a good book reading week after that, and that is because I read Project Hail Mary, more like immersed read. I listened to the audiobook and read the book. Oh my god, the audiobook, so good. And it totally made my reading experience 10 times better. And I rated that a 5-star. And we know by this time, do you need a 5-star rating? 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 Do you need a 5 review. It is about an astronaut that does not know why he's there in the first place, saving the world. And we just follow him in his journey to figuring out, one, why he's there, and two, how he will save the world, and other little adventures here and there. And I did watch the movie, and the movie was phenomenal too. I enjoyed the movie too, but there was a lot of things that they changed from the book that I wish were added in there, but I cannot talk to y'all about it because then I would be spoiling it if you haven't read the book or watched the movie. So I'll leave it at that, and you experience it for yourself because it's so good and worth it. And I mean, listen to the audiobook. It was so good. And then in March, I read Daggermouth by H.M. Wolf, and honestly, that was just a FOMO read. I was like, I need to get into this. This was my first dark romance. It was interesting. It was really good. I rated it 5 stars just because I couldn't put it down. I was looking at this. I was reading this book like a movie. Like in my head, I was watching a movie. I wasn't reading. I believe there is a second book coming up. I know a lot of people mentioned that the plot twist actually wasn't surprising, but to me, I was like, I was shocked. I was like, whoa, this actually is happening. Like, all I will have to say about this book is that women are badasses. They are always coming to the rescue. This book was giving V for Vendetta, and it's like a corrupt surveillance district, and kind of like Hunger Games too, where we have different districts. We have the elite, and the elite obviously live better than the rest of the district. Called boundaries, not district, they're boundaries. And we just follow the president's son, the person that will rule Newfound Haven. And then we have a badass woman that's just there to cause a ruckus, and I'm here for that. Here for that. April was also a really good reading month. All 3 books were 4.5 stars, and 2 of them were author repeats. The first one being The Bewitching by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I love anything that has to do with the occult, with witches, with Mexican folklore. I'm there. It reminded me so much of the Mexican folklore that I will hear when I was growing up, and it felt like a familial story to me, like one of my ancestors was telling me this story. The Bewitching is about a Mexican student that is admitted to one of the elite schools in Connecticut that grew up hearing stories about witches from her great-grandmother, which has left her infatuated with the horror genre, which she then decides to actually become a grad student. And her thesis is about horror author, her favorite horror author, which is Beatriz. But it happens to be that something happens to Beatriz, and she's trying to find sources, or like, when you have to do a thesis, you need resources, you need sources, you need to investigate here and there. So that's what she's doing. She ended up at one of the wealthiest person's home, and she just starts to have weird things happening to her after that. So I will leave it at that. Then the second book by Silvia Moreno Garcia was Gods of Jade and Shadow, and I absolutely love this book. Again, with the Mexican folklore. What more can I ask for? This was such a perfect book. I loved it so freaking much. We follow Cassiopeia. She is a young girl that was not very well liked by her family due to bigotry. And she was mistreated and treated like she wasn't family. One day they all leave her, and she discovers something which awakens an ancient god. And then she has to go on an adventure. An adventure that has to do with the underworld, with the middle world, with demons. She is from a small little pueblo. So this journey lets her to see what the world is out there, and to see if she wants to continue to follow her dreams or not, or left with that that feeling of like, is she responsible for her family, or is she responsible to make her own dreams come true and go on to this journeys that she so hoped for so many years. Then the last book for April was The Mad Wife by Megan Church, and I love this book. It's a historical feminist fiction book, and I recommend, of course I do. I give it a 4.5. And it's set in the 1950s during a time where a lot of mothers were misdiagnosed with hysteria, when in reality it was just society putting so much pressure on women and not absolutely doing crap about it and helping them and offering support. Then for the month of May, and that is the last book I read, because I did not read anything in June. So in reality, it was a January to May reading wrap up. Was Mothers by Brenda Lozano, and I absolutely loved this book too. I gave it a 4-star rating. It's by a Mexican author, and we follow two mothers. One of them, her daughter was just kidnapped in Mexico in the 1940s. And then the other mother just adopted a little girl. So we follow both of these women, one through the grief of losing or not knowing where her daughter is, and then two with the joyous occasion of becoming a mother, but through a different avenue, which is adopting. We see what desperation does. And also, I really liked that this book added so much emphasis on missing people there's two categories of missing people. There are those with money and there are those that don't have money. So one can guess what's going to happen to the ones that don't have money and the ones that come from elite or families with money. Money can buy anything. Money can buy newspaper ads, radio announcements, news reporters following you, or journalists continuing to write stories about you because it's visible. You come from money, you're well known, and it also made me think about like the classism in Mexico and the disparities of it. It made me think of here when we had Gabby Petito when she went missing, how there was so much more commotion because she was a white woman, and then it was so sad to see how many other bodies were found throughout that search, and a lot of them were people of color. So it put those two things into perspective. And I've also read Witches by her. I absolutely loved her too. That would be everything for the first half mid-year reading wrap up, and thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe and give me a like, leave a comment. Did you read any of the books I read, or did I persuade you to read certain books, or did I confuse you with my reviews? I promise you I'm trying to be better, but it's scary out there and I just need to practice. But yeah, thank you so much. Bye.